the perspective of financial institutions. And this is more of a research project between Schulich and Deloitte. We are creating a survey, a global survey that is going to be going out very shortly. That will, at the end of it, it will help us to understand how banks or financial institutions create digital services capabilities. So in 2010, this was the number of, in millions, this was the number of digital users, mobile users for banks all around the world. As you can see, there's only 8 million in Canada, 10 million in Europe, and 55 million in Asia Pacific. In 2016, this number come to this point. All of a sudden, you have a more than 10-fold increase in North America. You have 3-fold increase in Asia. So the world is changing. And getting this digital transformation as a strategy is an important thing for a lot of financial institutions. So what do we mean by digital transformation? What does it entail? Well, you can think about digital transformation as digitizing the existing services, digitally self-served services, digitally assisted services, or coming up with new services that are based upon a digital platform that can be used by the clients. We usually say that digital transformation is that the changes in technologies cause and impact all aspects of our life. In our case, we are looking into digital self-serve services and digitally assisted services in our research. So why are we doing this? Why are we going after digital transformation? Well, because there is a huge disruption factor, right? According to Statista 2018 and Capgemini, 70% of the customer expectations will impact disruption for financial services. You're going to see 45% banking offerings from Fintech companies. So it's not only old school banks or financial institutions that they are going to be in this area, but there will be a lot of Fintech organizations that are coming into play. And how they are going to be changing the environment, whether or not the banks or financial institutions will collaborate with these Fintech companies or going to rival with them, will be very interesting to watch. So all of a sudden, we have a dilemma. How you're going to identify when digital services or digital disruption will hit your organization, and what you're going to do about it, and how you're going to achieve digital transformation. I mean, you can think about digital transformation as an operational or a technology issue, or you can approach it from a strategic perspective. For example, digital transformation doesn't work with my remote control. If you think about your finance cube, then you will have 3 components to your digital transformation, right? The first one is the digital finance business functions. Digital financing, digital money, digital payments, insurance, investment, financial advice. I mean, for insurance nowadays, I'm watching this ad, I guess it's called sonnet.ca or sonnet.com. They show how they used to do insurance in 1970s, and then they sit down on their iPad, and then they get to choose their insurance service or whatever that they are going to choose online on their iPad within 2 minutes, and it's done. Well, that's what digital transformation is. Well, when you're using your iPad as the consumer, it seems very easy, but there's a lot behind the scenes that goes to provide that level of ease of use. Then you have the digital technologies, B2B technologies, artificial intelligence, social network, big data analysis, and then you have the financial institutions. On one side of the coin, you have the traditional service providers, just like banks, and then on another side of the coin, you have fintech corporations. Do you know what is the biggest company that uses this Apple Pay? You know that you tap your phone and then the payments processed in the United States? Starbucks. Yeah. You wouldn't think about it, but everyone who goes to Starbucks, with their Apple Pay, they can pay for their Starbucks. So what Starbucks did with digital transformation, now they don't actually have to pay to their traditional payment processor. They get to keep the money. They increase their ability to serve their customers faster because you just take your phone and then you tap it and then it works. All of a sudden, they became a financial player using a technology company. Well, that's digital transformation in financial services with a very traditional company who sells coffee. So we need to understand different parts of the digital finance cube. According to a study conducted by Deloitte Global, by 2019, I guess we are living it, most of the companies either will create AI applications or will try to obtain AI capabilities. I mean, we will live and see whether this is going to be the true this year, but you see a lot of activities in terms of getting into AI or trying to get some kind of an analytics or artificial intelligence capabilities within organizations, especially in financial services. Which brings us to our study in innovation in digital services. The whole idea behind this survey or this work is to understand how banks or financial services can create these digital services and how they innovate. This work is a joint work we also have a lab called the Schulich lab.ai. So it's a joint work between Schulich, our lab, and Deloitte. So if you think about the digital service development strategy, you need to consider where do you fit this strategy? How does it fit to your overall business goals? How does it fit to your overall customer base? How does it fit with your technological capabilities? You got to be aware of your competition and competition. So you're going to be competing in some cases, but in certain cases, especially with fintech companies, you might be collaborating at the same time. So you really need to be aware of your environment. And you also need to have a clear vision of what you're trying to achieve at the end of the day, because these are very expensive endeavors to take, and without a clear vision, you may not be as successful that you would think. And you need to invest in the correct digital resource. Not every digital thing, new shiny thing may be appropriate for your organization. So you need to identify what is the appropriate thing to invest in and how much you need to invest. If you think about the maturity stages, you might have 5 stages to consider, and it's very important for every organization to map themselves into which stage that they belong to. You can be a beginner, an adapter, an integrator, a collaborator, or you can also be a disruptor. I mean, the disruptors will be at the leading edge of digital innovation, that they are shaking up the competitive environment, whereas the beginners, where the ones would be that just beginning their journey and trying to figure things out. Our survey actually kind of collaborates or coincides with a previous survey that was conducted by Deloitte, and they looked into the consumer side, how consumers rate their banking services, how they approach the digital services. In this survey, we are looking into how banks can create these capabilities. And according to their survey, consumers approach digital services for real-time problem resolution, ability to do more regular transactions on mobile apps, and they also identify stronger data security. I mean, I'm certainly in the, okay, here we go. I'm certainly in the second 44%. I use my mobile apps on a daily basis, whether interact, transfer, or pay for your credit cards and everything. I sometimes even forget my password because I use my thumb to get into my app, right? So all of a sudden, that digital transformation has a huge penetration with a lot of consumers. On the other hand, if you look into the customer segments, we are going to have 28% traditionalists, 43% of online embracers who like to do their banking online, and then we have 28% digital adventurers who prefer mobile-oriented services. I believe that number will go up as we get more penetration within mobile applications. So when you're managing your services, digital services, you have to be customer focused. You need to more real in digital, more digital in real, and then you're not going to get the customer centricity into your involvement, co-production, and then co-innovate with your clients. Understanding your clients will help you to innovate better in terms of digital services. So in order to understand these types of things and then create a better vision and a strategy for financial services, we are creating this survey. Just an example, by the way, our survey is as boring as my talk right now. It takes an hour, and we have 17 pages of questions. It took us a year to develop every single question, and rather than creating questions like just having a little bit of a drink, a glass of wine, and then coming up with questions, we actually did validity, reliability studies, we did Q sorting, all sorts of statistical and scientific things went into creating this survey. I'm just not boring you, and this is just one example. But you know, if you're in the banking industry that you cannot fall asleep, maybe you'll receive our survey. Trust me, within 2 minutes you will be falling asleep. One of the most important things that is coming though is digital trust and digital confidence. So how do banks or financial institutions build digital trust and confidence within their customers using the technology and working with fintech organizations? So we look into all different aspects of this trust and confidence within our survey, because we do believe that the interaction of these three pillars will be the decider. People or banks that will be able to build trust and confidence within their clients will be more successful than the others, because without trust, something that is on your phone is always scary. I mean, it at least is scary to me. But once you build that confidence, then it is very easy to use. Another important thing is, are you competing against fintech companies, or are you working with them? That's a very interesting question, because those are the ones that come up with these new technologies. So are you going to let them change your world, or are you going to be collaborating with them? And how much you're going to be collaborating? There is the issue of strategy, there is the issue of competitive environment, but there's also regulations that you have to adhere with. So our survey covers all of these questions. There are barriers that need to be considered, the security issues, differences in strategic vision, uncertainty of regulations, cultural differences. I mean, someone would like to wear a tie that goes to work every day, and the other guys are just wearing jeans and t-shirts. And how would that work in certain environments when you're trying to come up with a new service? What it comes down to at the end of the day is whether or not you have a digital culture, whether or not you're driven to achieve digital transformation. And then there are two things that we would like to measure in our survey. One of them is will. Do you believe in, winning in this? Do you have the willpower to achieve this? Because it's not going to be an easy road. Also, do you want to innovate in order to overcome certain obstacles? Do you want to put your customers at first and then respond to their needs? Traditional channels will go down slowly, even though a lot of people, I see still people using their bank cards, like they print on the bank cards each time they go to the bank. But the number of those customers are going down. So then all of a sudden, the question becomes how much you are willing to interact with your customers, innovate for your customers, and then retain their business. This is my presentation. I hope I did not bore you, but now I would like to open the floor to discussion, because there's more that we can discuss, I believe, than me just talking.